we're just gonna dive straight into the problem that we're solving. So the number of Americans that identify in the LGBTQI community every year has been increasing since 2012, and before that, we just the study I looked at using from pewresearch.org shows in 2012 it was 8.3 million, in 2013 it was 8.7 million, and then in 2014 it was 9.2 million. And as you can see, this gradual increase, and that means that there's more people being born into our community, and there's also more people identified. Now, we don't have the numbers on people that are being born because that would be an interesting topic to have a baby that can't speak words and tell you about their sexuality. But so studies do show that there is some studies that show that you are born with some genetic dispositions to being in the LGBTQI community. So here's the problem. More than half of LGBT students, faculty, and staff hide their sexual or gender identity. And this is taken from 6,000 individuals on higher education campuses across the United States from a campus pride study. And then it also said that less than 13% of colleges and universities in the U.S. prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. So it's just setting you up for that problem of there's not enough resources out there for the LGBTQI community in higher education. And I'm going to hit the next slide. And this is the team that is going to, bring resources to the LGBTQI community in higher education. And look, we found that we're going to do this not just in the U.S., we're going to do this across the world. I'm Brian Pearson, I'm your CEO and spokesperson. This is Nehemiah Durakis. He is a captain of OpenSTO, livid civic hacker. And this is Nick Sternkiss. He is our COO and a current student at St. Louis University. So this is just the 9 objectives of the Serenity Plan. It was a little much to bring out the 125-page document out here and talk to everybody about it. So we're just going to give you like 2 slides. Just going to say the number 1 objective is hiring a faculty representative for the LGBTQI community on a campus. Number 2 is having a student government diversity council made up of registered minority communities. On higher education campuses, there's a rule of 6. So if you have 6 students, then you have a club. So bring together like 6 students in the African American community, you can have a Black Student Union. Bring together 6 students that are in the LGBTQI community, you can have a GSA, which is a Gay Straight Alliance. 6 students in the Hispanic community, you can have a Hispanic Student Union. And you would have an officer that sits on the Student Government Council that has their own council, and they report back to the Student Government Council as a whole. Bringing that community together, that's never really been done on a at least in the United States, across the nation. There's a lot of schools that are really lacking in that diversity. And then objective 3 is to add an LGBT plus resource tab to homepage of colleges and university web pages. So that means that you can just go in and find it right there and like, oh, okay, these are the things that this school offers me. And objective 4 is a preferred name change and pronouns in all facets of campus life. I want to keep moving. Objective 5 is LGBT studies, classes, tutoring, and LGBT plus minor and major offered in major universities. Objective 6 is making gender transition hormones offered through campus health insurance. And my recommendation there was that this is paid for through student fees that can be opted into, not forcing everybody at the school to pay for somebody's insurance. Objective 7 is freshman dorm LGBT plus inclusive housing and study groups. Then this is objective 8 is option to self-identify as LGBT plus admissions on applications. And objective 9 is LGBT plus campus housing, aka also known as spectrum housing. Now before we move on, I want you to go back because all this stuff is a gradual, it's done gradually over time. So you start at 1 and you end at 9 because you can't just hop in with housing. You need to make sure that the community is ready for that. Because a lot of times in higher education, you got like administrators come together and be like, oh, we're gonna do all this stuff, but like they don't know how to get it out to the community. So like it goes unused and then it disappears because nobody uses it. So the Serenity Scorecard is a ranking system that's based on the Serenity Plan's 9 objectives. And this will be used to rank everybody, like rank every school in the world on the Serenity Index. So the first one would be metropolitan area. So like the St. Louis area, the #1 school in St. Louis actually is WashU. They got the highest ranking so far. I'm not going to tell you who got the lowest ranking at this point in time. State, in the U.S., and then regional and country. That just means that for the United States, that means like Midwest, the Southwest. And Mexico, that means they're city-states. And in different parts of the world, we got to do it in a different way, because there's some that got city-states, that like in China, they got provinces. So we have to break it up. So what we put umbrella term is regional and country. And then we got country, so it could be the #1 school in your country. And then we got continental, being the #1 school in your continent. And you also got the world stage, being the #1 school in the world. Now, so these are the Serenity packages. So the reason why this is, I'm pretty sure people are like, well, how's this gonna make money? So these are the sponsorship packages that schools will be able to pay for us to come out and help them out. And I'm gonna tell you how we're gonna help them out in just a second with some of the examples we have in the package. But it's for major universities, over 15,000 students. It's gonna be $15,000 for professional postgrads like chiropractic schools and professional nursing schools, and minor universities that's under 15,000. It's going to be 10,000. And community colleges, it's going to be 5,000. Because these schools have different endowments and they have different budgets. You can't expect, St. Charles Community College to pay the same thing, well, as SUNY New York, which is a community college in New York. But we got to take that into account, because there's some people that got more endowment, they got a better budget, like Michigan State University, probably got a better budget than St. Charles Community College. U of I, University of Illinois, and University of Indiana, probably got a better budget than Blackburn College in Carlinville, Illinois, which many people don't know about. And that was a social plug for Blackburn College, because I've been working with them for about 6 months. So these are the Serenity package details. One of them is a custom-made video that you can put an ad on our site. So like when you go to that ranking, there'll be a profile on the site, and you'll be able to see an ad where that college can talk to the LGBTQI community and talk about what they're doing. And then a sponsored article wrote by either me or one of the people that's part of the one of the associations we're working with at a different college. I'm not going to release that until, well, you'll see at the later part of this presentation. But, and then there's also a conference that we're going to do for all the schools that are going to sponsor. And we're going to do with that conference with the St. Louis Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're going to do that once a year, where higher education professionals can get together and talk about best practices and what they did, what problems they had, and how we can help them out, how they can help each other out. And we can bring together like groups like Pride St. Louis, Metro Trans Umbrella Group, QPOC, and Black Pride, which is an LGBTQI festival that fosters Black pride in the LGBTQI community. Mentorship and consulting. Like for example, me, like I'm one of like 5% of ex-foster care kids that have a college degree, and being able to mentor different students to be able to break down those barriers is like big, because a lot of people just don't have a degree in my section of life. And Nehemiah here has a computer science degree, and he can help out a lot of people now, because that's very tough. So you want to move over? All right. So these are some of the groups that we're involved with. Fleshman Hiller, PR consulting, definitely helped us out. The St. Louis Regional Chamber of Commerce. Boom Magazine broke the news that we're bringing out the index and the scorecard. We're an I-10 company. We work with the Metro Trans Umbrella Group, Pride St. Louis. We're part of the Autumn Rising initiative, where Chris Miller, who's running for Madison County Treasurer, he's one of the first people that kind of discovered the Serenity Strategy Network. And he, told us like, this is a really good idea, and you guys are social entrepreneurs, and I want to see this succeed. And he kind of took us under our wing, just like many other mentors. That's in T-Rex as well. And Black Pride, and we're also part of the Metrics Clinic at WashU, which does financial projections and we'll put you on QuickBooks, and it's a lot of different things that, you know, a guy with a political science degree isn't necessarily the best at. So you might look over. So a lot of people ask, like, you know, well, why Serenity? Well, I want to say that I chose the name Serenity because my little sister that died when I was 13, I loved her a lot. And I wanted to combine my love for her, my love for my community, and be able to do that for the rest of my life. So I found the Serenity Strategy Network. And through Serenity there is peace, and through Serenity we prosper. And that is a motto of our company, because we're going to make the world a better place, one higher education campus at a time.
Raise your hand if you have questions. We'll try to do this in an orderly fashion since we don't have a second microphone.
Okay.
Start
Can I go right now?
Yeah, start.
Okay. Once again, great presentation. It's good to see the plan for your company and how you intend on growing. For your company, what's the plan for the next 1 year? How many universities do you intend to hit, especially within St. Louis or within the state?
So we want to get. You want to go back to the slide that has the different, like the regional states, different things like that. So like we want to get each category from each spot each year. So, but here's the thing, Dr. Waple at SIUE is the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs. He was like, Brian, like it really is going to just be a domino effect as soon as you get that first one. So right now we are planning for slow growth because we're hitting everything as hard as we possibly can and doing the best we can, because we would rather knock out the park 1, 2, or 3 than to just be sending out an email flooding different people's boxes and like not getting anywhere at all. So we want to do somewhere between 18 and 24 a year as sponsorships. And like, here's the other thing. So people are like, what if you finish the Serenity Plan? Well, we have the Serenity Plan 2 coming at you. But, and then the Serenity Plan 3. This has been planned out well before we arrived at T-Rex, that there's going to be a momentum, because the competition has a index and has a scorecard that is like ridiculously huge. So it's like, you know, higher education professionals are like throwing darts at it. And like they're just trying to get a couple things here, a couple things there, and it's like, well, it's not really good for the community if you're just throwing darts at a board. But like, what if a group can come and help you bring everybody along and can come in and help mentor your students, give you a scholarship on your campus, and actually be there with you? That makes more sense. So we want to make sure that we're hitting everything efficiently and picking up 18 to 24 schools across the world a year. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Next question. Is this a for-profit or a non-profit?
This is a social enterprise that is for-profit. And the best way we can say that is that, so Florence Nightingale, she created the first nursing school, and she promoted the best nursing practices for different nursing schools across the country she was in. And this is a social enterprise that is promoting the best practice for the LGBTQ community around the world. And a social enterprise is a relatively new term that a lot of people don't understand. But for us, we need to make sure that people understand that we're a for-profit business that is investing back into the community with our scholarships and giving people access. We want to do the things that make sense, that can be tangible and sustainable, you know, because sometimes one of the things with nonprofits is that, you know, you might look around and the budget, you know, you paid everybody, but there wasn't much done. You created awareness. Well, in our community, there's already a lot of groups that create awareness. We want to be there to actually implement everything. And so that means that having that direction of making sure that you can sustain your company makes more sense, because you're actually going to be helping out a lot more people if it's sustainable.
Yes, I would follow up on Joe's thing. I mean, you can do everything you just said as a nonprofit. I mean, there are nonprofits that get crap kind of stuff done. And if you Google nonprofit LGBTQ grants, there are a ton of resources available, much more so than if you're a for-profit enterprise. So it's just something to think about. I wouldn't discount what Joe said, because again, you can do a lot as a nonprofit, and there's tons of funding out there available.
Well, and also I want to say thank you for talking. I also want to be able to make sure that we can bring on and onboard and sustain our employees. A lot of problems with nonprofits is that your employees get very talented and then they get up and leave the company for a better position that suits their experience. And with our company, we'll be able to sustain that talent, being able to pay them the wages that are competitive for the market.
First of all, great presentation. I've seen you present a couple of times, and this was definitely the most clear, so good job. The question I have is, so your primary client who's going to be paying you is the universities. And the payoff that you're giving them, I'm guessing, is higher enrollments for the LGBTQIA community, correct?
There's more to that. You want me to add 3 other pieces that I was going to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So enrollment, retention, and access to the community around them. For example, like I'm a part of the LGBTQIA Higher Education Professionals Facebook group. And there's always people around the United States that's like, man, I need a job. I need to find a job. How can I find a job? And then they get hired and like move like 4 different states away. And like they get there and like it takes them a while to get their community integrated. So with us, we help you onboard that person and bring that community to them. For example, in the I-10 marketing module, you have to plan out it's either a 24 or 12-month marketing plan. And one of the things that I did was all the different prides around the world. I'm going to write content on those different prides, and I'm going to contact every pride before I do that, and creating that channel of communication. So that means that that's going to really work out really well for these education institutions, because most of these prides are going to be within 60 to 70 miles of these institutions around the world. Especially if they're already hiring an LGBTQI individual. That this is not something that is just happens. It's a reason why. There's a chain reaction. The community standing up and saying like, hey, we need to do something for our community.
So I guess my follow-up question would be, do you have any numbers surrounding those kind of 3 or 4 pieces that you're providing to the universities, that when you go to them, when you're going to some new university in upstate New York or whatever, you can say, this is the impact we anticipate having in your school?
So I'm happy you asked that again. So here's the thing. So I'm a researcher. So the Serenity Plan was my senior's assignment in college. And the Serenity Plan is setting me up to do a better study of the community. And so, for example, our competitor, they have a self-reported scorecard. So like, let's say that, there's 3 of y'all, and you guys have 3 different schools. Well, you might say like, oh, we have LGBTQ events. We had a table last week, and one of our business advisors sat at it and handed out flyers talking about LGBTQI, people of color, and how they enduring violence. Man, we have great LGBTQI events. And like, I used to be the GSA president at my school, and like they literally marked that down. And I'm just like, that's not an LGBTQI event. That is somebody sitting at a table. I'm like, it's one of those things. And then like, nobody's gonna say, if they're gonna opt into this Campus Pride Index, nobody's gonna say, yeah, our school sucks for the LGBT community. Nobody's gonna say that. But with ours, we're doing it ourselves. We're scraping every university, trade school, community college site across the world and building that. And through that study, we're gonna build that retention study of how many students came in and stayed.
So the numbers are something you're creating as you go.
Yes, because because this college is not just like, oh, you get there then you're done. It's a we move together, and like the Serenity Strategy Network is moving with these colleges to better the resources for these communities.
Great presentation. Have you thought about creating an online analytic tool where you can pitch to the universities and essentially take those assessments, the retention and all that stuff, where they can see in real time how they measure up throughout the entire year, and they can base it off of them getting grants and different stuff like that? Then your IT company, and then a profitable IT company.
So one of the big problems in our community is that we're not counting on the census. So it's hard to get those numbers, and there's been a lot of debate on getting the LGBTQ community on the census. So you have to kind of pick and choose which school is doing it, which school isn't. Everybody's scared about laws, they don't want to get sued. It's a lot of different things like that. We will have something like that. Like one of the things in the Serenity Plan research is that we recommend that the United States count the census. But one of the bigger things is that we want to do that. I want to make sure that happens. We're just a ways away from that, and it's going to take a lot of grassroots political action to get that done. But you know what? I got a degree in political science, so you never know.
Hi, great presentation. What I saw, sorry I was late. Comment and 2 questions. A presentation from a few weeks ago for a company called Panoptive that was here. Might be that online tool you're talking about for statistics and such. I'll give you that information later. Question is, you mentioned the Metro Trans at WashU for putting QuickBooks on or something?
Metro Trans Umbrella Group.
Sorry?
Metro Trans Umbrella Group.
Thank you. Okay. All right, good. I will find that. I'll talk to somebody about that later. The other question, you mentioned Chris Miller.
Hold on. Wait. What do you mean about the Metro Trans Umbrella? What were you asking about?
They helped you put your business on QuickBooks?
No. So the Metrics Clinic at WashU is helping put our business on QuickBooks. The Metro Trans Umbrella Group is a group that helps out the trans community in the St. Louis metro area, because we have the #1 per capita trans population in America.
Okay.
So we need to make sure those are different.
And I'm hard of hearing, so what was the name of it again then?
The Metro Trans Umbrella Group.
No, the one that helped you put QuickBooks on.
The Metrics Clinic at WashU.
Metrics.
Metrics.
Yes.
Metrics.
Thank you. The second question, you mentioned Chris Miller, who was a leader in the Scandalera Center for a while, and it sounds like a mentor for you. He also has a mission center with the L3C that allows for-profit subsidiaries of nonprofit. Is that something that you examined and are doing?
So Beverly is his mentor. She works at the Brown School at WashU, and she just literally talked to us about this like a couple days ago. A lot of people has been trying to get us to go the L3C route, but we've had a couple, conversations back and forth with a couple different people that's been talking about that. One of the things is it's very expensive. Like for example, the L3C, that's the mission, we know where it's based, and it operates in Missouri. It's based out of Michigan and operates in Missouri. And there's a lot of paperwork in that having a small team, it's a little bit harder to go through numerous different forms of paperwork when we can put the simplest thing out we can so we can get to work. Because the more time when you have a small team like this that we spend on paperwork and trying to get these things done, we're not going to get what our actual mission is done.
Smart.
Good, thank you.
I just have one comment if we don't have any more questions. Make sure when you're talking to universities, tell them what you're doing, that you're giving them an objective. Use that word. Universities love the word objective. You're giving them an objective standard by which they can measure themselves. To make that's just a comment, to make that explicit when you're talking to them, because that's what you're striving for, is have an objective standard, have objective statistics behind it, and I think that's more powerful, you're right, than just like throwing darts at the board. This is an objective thing that we're working at, that we provide you.
Then when you show retention rate, you say, 25 more kids came to the school or stayed. Would you up your prices as you go and expand your product if you go to this?
No.
No?
And the reason why is because we're a social enterprise. We're here just to be helping people out. And we're here just to be helping out our communities. Upping our prices to some mean like, oh, it's more premium. Oh, it got better. No. We established these standards so we can sustain our team and sustain our mission across the world. We didn't establish these standards to raise our prices and to keep making, billions of dollars. We was just trying to sustain our growth, sustain our team, and sustain helping out our community.
Well, it's not even to make more money, it's to create an even better product as you go, so you can help even more.
And I'm listening to that, and my thing is that since we're a social enterprise and a lot of people don't really understand some of that, we have to watch our messaging. And so if we keep saying oh, we did 60 schools last year across the world and now we upped our prices by 1,000 because we got better, then a lot of people who don't know about social enterprises that are for profit, they're going to be like, oh, these people are just out here to get money and not actually help out the community. No matter how many videos we put on Facebook, no matter how many people do testimonials, they're just going to see us as a cash cow.
What was your online presence at the time? I was looking for it. I found Serenity Golf Club, and they have a scorecard. I thought that was interesting.
So we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we have our own website, and we also have a website now that you won't be able to see until October 11th, with its coming out day. That is going to have every school listed on it. But we have a pretty good social presence. Actually, I experimented this summer with hosting our first event, and we reached 25,000 people across the world, and 500 in Vietnam, 500 in England, and 300 in Mexico. And so we have a pretty good social presence. You have to look up the Serenity Strategy Network. You can't just look up Serenity Strategy Network. And we also one of my roles as the team has been evolving is kind of gone to a long-term decision maker and a content creator. So I write for the Riverbender in Alton, Illinois, about media ethics, and I'm also going to start freelance writing for Boom Magazine about higher education, LGBTQI needs, and also every Tuesday you can check out on LinkedIn because every Tuesday I'm going to come out with a different explanation of each objective.
Great. Are you going to have a schedule for putting out YouTube, podcasts, and things like that?
So we have a schedule for our LinkedIn posts, and we will. I wanted to do maybe once a month. Right now we're focused on just getting this database down because I just started working at Calico's down the street serving tables so I can pay for our 2 developers to be here. So we this just recently happened. So we're and I just taught them the Serenity process, which is how you rank schools. So we want to get there, but we think building this database is the MVP right now. That's the most important.
That's cool. Love it. Great job.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll take the mic.